Hey, what's going on, guys? This is AndrewChicken, and welcome back to another video. The Tidal Surge update is here, and we are going to be going over everything you need to know about this update, including all of the changes that they've made since the PTS. So, let's just get started. So, first we have the key new feature, which is Paladins PvE, as you can see here. And this is a very unique mode for Paladins. Paladins has had sort of PvE modes in the past, but they haven't been nearly as fleshed out as this. This is a wave defense where different waves of relentless bots will attack the objective and you. And if you let them onto the point, they will start to capture points. And you don't want to let them do that because eventually that's how they end up winning. So you either survive 10 minutes or you lose. And yeah, if you die, you also lose points, and then the bots will have a chance to gang up on you, and it's very, very scary. And yeah, the waves start off pretty small, as you can see here, with just some Kogas. Oh boy, there's a lot of Kogas, though. And yeah, they will quickly ramp up, and you'll actually get waves with different types of enemies in them. So like multiple different types of enemies at once, not just the same character over and over again. And yeah, they have really ramped up the spawning and the enemy types from the PTS. If you remember the original PTS showcase of this, there weren't Corvuses and Kogas spawning at the same time for Wave 2, but now there is. So yeah, you can see these different mixed waves here, and well, the bots are still a little bit slow, but the fact there's more of them now does mean it'll be a little bit more of a challenge. And the final wave gets, oh boy, really quite intense, because you have the big bad tanks showing up. And there are actually 3 different types of maps as well. There's this map, Primal Court, which has pyre-based enemies, and that's why you have Azan here, as well as Archangel Tyra, and generally just, you know, some pyre-themed skins. Oh boy, he stuns me. And yeah, you also have the Abyss theme on Marauder's Port, with Rom as the sort of mini-boss variant that spawns in the final wave, and then also you have Bright Marsh with Yagharoth and Darkness-themed enemies. Hello! So yeah, this is their first attempt at a true PvE mode. Kind of like what Blizzard promised with their PvE with, you know, the talent system and having waves of bots and just a more fleshed out PvE experience than something like Dark Tides in the past, which was like a weird boss that would spawn in the middle of your casual matches. It was really strange. So yeah, I'm happy to see this. And it's also important to note that this is a beta. This is a beta mode. They have even specified as such in the queue name. So, yeah, it's important to give your feedback to them because they will be tuning and improving this mode if you do indeed enjoy it and want to see it expand and grow. And this also means that they'll likely do other sorts of PvE style stuff in the future, like perhaps a proper boss fight, or anything like that, which I'm really holding out for a lore-accurate Yagharoth boss fight. That would be insane. The possibilities truly are endless, as long as we actually give them the opportunity to refine it. And so, yeah, definitely give this mode a try. Oh boy, I'm getting swarmed by Azans right now. If you don't stay on top of things, they get out of hand really quickly. If you watch my streams, you'll see that much. It gets crazy. So yeah, if you want to queue for this mode, there are actually 2 different options. You can play for the public beta, which is the version that basically just works like a regular limited time mode queue. You queue for this, you get match made with 4 other players, and you play as a full squad. Or you can go for the private party beta, and this is where you can have basically a custom experience. Do you want to play single player by yourself? You can do that. That's what I just did. You can play with a duo, you can play with 3 players, 4 players, or you can just play with a 5 stack and queue for it and have a faster queue. It has an instant queue, just like it's actually faster than these other modes. It's like it's as fast as the shooting range queue, eh? So yeah, you can have a nice single player experience, or sort of the closest thing to offline Paladins that you can get, or you can play with other people. The choice is up to you. So definitely go give this mode a try. It's very exciting, especially when you play like in a full party or a 5 stack, whatever, and you get to the final wave. The spawns just go absolutely crazy. It starts to lag your game out. Like it gets very intense. But yeah, next up are all the different recolors that they have brought back. They have rolled out phase 2 of bringing back the old recolors that got removed from the game all those many years ago for absolutely no reason. So you saw I was running Purple Cassie there, one of my favorite recolors, and yeah, you can get all of these from the Heroic Hues chest if you want to, because it does technically come at a crystal discount from if you were to just direct purchase them, and it's a good place to go to just see all of them congregated together. But you can also just go and buy them for regular gold if you come on over here and then just click on Cassie or whoever, and then just click on the recolor here. You have this little bar now that has all the recolors nicely congregated together, so that's how you select them. And yeah, they include champions like Drogoz. Drogoz is some of the best recolors. Look at this one. Oh my goodness. Purple, red, it is phenomenal. And yeah, we also have Barrack, and a bunch of other of the older champions have gotten their recolors back. Hey, Shaolin there too, look at that. So if you want a whole bunch of recolors of these older champions, if you miss some of them, if you're a really old beta player like me, then yeah, this is an opportunity to get all those skins back, so really nice. Next up, we have the Flashback Buried Treasure Event Pass, and this event pass comes with a bunch of the Beach Bash related cosmetics featured in previous battle passes from many years ago. So it's kind of a hybrid of Beach Bash as well as the pirate theme. We've got Mermaid Ying here, as you can see. There are 5 skins in total, and I wish I could show them to you, but you know how they switched everything to chests at the start of the year? Yeah, they still haven't reverted that, so we can't actually see what's in any of these chests. But I'll tell you what, though, I did find one very interesting thing. Come to the store, come to the accessories tab, and then come to the mounts tab. Whoa, we've got a new mount! And this is in the event pass, and it's a recolor of the Sky Whale. Kind of a, an emo version of the Sky Whale, eh? So, that's pretty cool. And this is, yeah, again, in the event pass, as you can see here, you click on it, it comes over here. So if you level up your event pass, that is one brand new cosmetic you will be getting from this that hasn't featured in the game before. But for the most part, the rest of it is just, yeah, these old skins. So if you're a player who never got the opportunity to play through these battle passes, this is your opportunity to get a bunch of these skins. And if you already have these skins, then like with the last Flashback event pass, you will get more crystals out of the event pass than you put in it, if you already own the skins. So that's why I've bought this. You might think I'm pretty stupid if I bought this and I already had all the skins in it, but no, I get crystals out of it. So yay, that's pretty good, I guess. We also have Split 2 of Ranked, so everyone's Ranked has been soft reset. You're going to have to do your qualifying matches again, and, well, there's supposed to be an avatar, and yep, here it is, Split 2 rewards. We have the limited avatar, Sacred Stone. If you're an Inara main, this looks like a pretty good avatar for you to run, eh? And you can also get another new Golden Cache, which is cool for the people who haven't gotten everything out of the Gold Cache yet. There'll also be a new and a very nice returning limited time mode rotating through here during the Tidal Surge update. We have Leon, I Shrunk the Realm, which is a version of TDM where every time you get an elimination, your champion shrinks by 10% in size and health while moving faster and jumping higher, stacks up to 5 times, so you fight to become the smallest bean. It seems like a very silly limited time mode. And then we also have Truly Talented coming back, and it's getting an update. We have balance changes for a limited time mode. That is absolutely wild. I love this limited time mode. It is a fan favorite. And we have new talents for Bomb King, Imani, Maldamba is getting a balance change and nerf to Wakono's Curse, one of the most oppressive talents in the mode. Pip is getting a new talent. Seris is getting a nerf to Void Protects. That talent is OP as crap, so that's a really good thing. Zin is getting a new talent and also a buff to Retaliation, making counter last 1 second longer. And Yagoroth is getting added to the pool with a new talent as well. So you can pause the video to read all of these. There's some pretty exciting ones here, and I'm really happy to see all the love and care given to Truly Talented, because it is truly awesome. So now let's get into the balance changes, starting off with the items. So armor plating is getting a nerf, but it's not the nerf that you saw originally revealed on the PTS, because on the PTS, the way they nerfed this item was to say that, hey, you reduce the damage you take from in-hand weapons, but only when you're not affected by crowd control. Turns out people just weren't really enjoying it, so they've decided to give it a flat scaling nerf instead, from 7% per tier down to 6% per tier. This now has the exact same scaling as Veteran, and it is more expensive, but it also has the inherent benefit of being DR, which DR is still ultimately stronger than just increasing your max health for a variety of reasons. So there is still a reason to pick this item up if you are really struggling against people who do majority weapon damage, such as Strix, Kinessa, Maeve, etc. But it is getting nerfed, so it's definitely less effective than it was last patch. Rejuvenate has been reworked. This item used to increase the healing you received from other players by up to 30%, and this would additively stack against Cauterize. So, for example, under late game Cauterize, you would basically subtract the 30% from Rejuvenate from the 90% of Cauterize to only have 60% anti-healing in late game, which was an extremely powerful effect. And they have changed that, so that no longer applies with Cauterize. It does not stack additively against Cauterize anymore, so it'll basically increase your healing output now. If you're playing Seris, you can buy this item and increase your healing output by up to 30%, but it'll basically increase it by 30% and then reduce it by the full 90% of Cauterize once you get into late game and someone is affected by Cauterize. So in late game, I would say this item is much weaker now, but now only one person needs to buy it, the support. And you can also buy it on a motley of other characters, such as Bulk Up Buck or Subservience Rom, for example. So there are more applications for this as well, and new niche build types that you can create. It will also synergize with certain items, so it'll synergize with Meditation, it'll synergize with Bloodbath. However, they specifically note that it does not include healing from lifesteal effects. Which, it was supposed to affect lifesteal originally. It turns out it was bugged and it didn't, and instead of fixing the bug, they have just made it a part of the item that it doesn't affect lifesteal now, so... Yeah, that's a bit silly, but yeah, very exciting and controversial change to Rejuvenate here. Definitely the craziest item change of the patch. Then we have Bloodbath, which has gotten a nerf since the PTS, but still overall a massive buff from the previous version of Bloodbath. So Bloodbath is now back to True Healing. If you remember the old version of Kill to Heal that also applied True Healing, that's basically the same thing going on here with Bloodbath, except it's still... remains as Bloodbath, meaning that if you get an elimination, it'll true heal you and the ally who got the kill, and it now heals for health over time instead of a burst heal. So you will get 360 health per tier up to a maximum of 1080 health restored over 4 seconds, and because it's true healing, this is just, regardless of how much Cauterize you have on you, you will get 1080 health back. So this item is a lot stronger now, and on champions who synergize well with Bloodbath, like, again, Subservience Rom, or someone like Genos, or maybe Grover, this item will be a lot stronger now. Of course, on those characters, will it be better than something like Kronos? I don't know. We'll have to test that out, but a major buff to Bloodbath. Now let's talk about champion changes, starting with Cassie, who is getting some pretty sizable buffs. And this is because she's generally been a pretty mid to underwhelming champion for a good while now if you take a look at her win rate stats. And so they've decided, hey, let's buff her, but let's try and buff her in ways that don't make her feel as annoying as when she was meta in years past. So here's what they've done to her. They've given her a pretty sizable damage over time on her blast shot that scales based on the enemy's health. However, this has been reduced from the PTS. Previously, it was 12% on the PTS. Now it is 10% max health. So if I just pop this on Ying, you see that DOT tick down, and it will be a pretty sizable boost to the damage of your blast shot, which it is important to point out I am using Impulse here, so I have that extra burst up front as well. But you'll also notice that it has damage fall off. So if you're on the very edge of the blast, you see you take much less damage. If I just throw that on Ying again, you see it's back up to 37. Victor's only taking 17, but now if I throw it on him, he gets 37. So yeah, it does have that fall off as well, meaning that it's not just a whole bunch of crazy free area damage, which I think is a really good thing. And it also stacks on itself. So if I just go ahead and pop this and then pop this, you see that we have the 2 different damage ticks going simultaneously, making having the enemies grouped up with the card, what is it called? This card, Blast Shower, making that combo really, really good for just a bunch of extra poison damage. On top of that, her Disengage now applies a 3-second long 35% freeze, which they still haven't gotten the freeze portion working, it seems. So the only difference between a freeze and a slow is the fact that freeze has additional visual effects. Effectively, it's a 35% slow after knockback now. So yeah, that's a nice little boost to her crowd control output, and I guess that's all the more reason to buy Sentinel now if you're really getting annoyed by Disengage. And then finally, here's another change that wasn't listed on the PTS. It seems they added it between PTS and Live. If you ult now, it refills your ammo, which is a really nice quality of life because her ultimate scout also increases her fire rate. So if you ult and previously you were only at half or lower ammo, you'd pop your ult, fire out your rounds really fast, and then you have to immediately reload. And that just wasn't very nice. It made a lot of sense to do it because, you know, Tyra, Buck, Willo, they all have weapon augments, and yeah, having them refill their ammo as well also makes sense. So it's a really sensible change for Cassie, I think. It's actually a change I suggested, so I'm super happy to see it. And overall, Cassie is feeling a lot stronger this patch. Caspian is getting some pretty huge buffs, and he's also losing a lot of unnecessary bloat this patch. Rogue's Tempo now fires at the exact same projectile speed regardless of your stacks. So if I just let that stack expire, we can throw out the Rogue's Tempo, and it's pretty much as fast as a regular pistol shot now. So no more variable projectile speed, and that applies to your measured cadence rogues tempos as well. They're all the same speed, which is excellent. On top of that, it applies a cripple now instead of a slow, and they have actually reduced the duration of the cripple from the PTS. So on the PTS, it was 2 seconds, now it is 1.25 seconds, which is much more reasonable. Still a very powerful interrupting tool that'll stop the enemies from getting away momentarily, but it won't be as ridiculous as it was on the PTS, because it was truly insane there. He's also gotten major cooldown buffs across the board, so Deadly Momentum now has an 11-second cooldown, down from 2 seconds, down by 2 seconds, excuse me, and Deadly Momentum also down by 2 seconds, from 13 to 11 seconds. So in general, just a lot snappier, faster Caspian gameplay now. And Measured Cadence has also gotten a very, very major buff, so each of the Rogue's Tempo projectiles that you shoot out from your pistol will reduce the cooldown of your main Rogue's Tempo by 15%. So you see, we're building it back a lot faster now, and we can basically spam it out a lot sooner than just 9 seconds later. Look at that. So that is all very good for this champion. And then it seems also they've done another change from the PTS, which is to reduce the finer things from 12% scaling, just flat for every single tier, to 15% at level 1, and then scaling by 5% per tier. So a pretty sizable nerf to one of the most powerful movement speed cards in the game, just kind of coming out of nowhere. So yeah, I guess that is a bit sad for him, but ultimately it is still a very nice movement speed buff for a melee-type character like Caspian, and overall he's just a lot stronger now. Corvus has also gotten some buffs, so he has just a few number changes on Dark Gifts first and foremost. The heal has gone up from 75 to 100 per tick. He has increased the reload speed buff from 15 to 25%, and increased the cooldown reduction buff from 15 to 20%. All very powerful buffs, making Dark Gifts an even stronger option if you want to pocket one person in particular. And Stunning Visage also now grants a 3-second cooldown reduction on projections, so from 8 to 5 seconds, specifically when using Stunning Visage, as I am right now, which makes it very powerful as a sort of movement-based playstyle. And if you're using the card that resets it when you hit somebody, you can see you actually get quite a low cooldown. That's what, a 3-second cooldown there? So that is really, really nice. Stunning Visage probably still won't be meta anytime soon, but if you do enjoy this sort of funky damage playstyle for Corvus, it is now a lot stronger. Undeniably so. I mean, look at that. Hit 2 people, you get full reset pretty much, so that's crazy. Evie's ultimate applies a themed freeze instead of a slow. Except the freeze still doesn't work. It still doesn't have the themed effect whatsoever, and that's the only change. It's literally just a visual update. This balance change, it just means nothing in regards to actual numbers going up or down or anything of the sort. So don't worry, Evie's not getting buffed, she's not getting nerfed, she's exactly the same. Io's talent Sacrifice now indicates to enemies that she is, yeah, immortal. She can't die while Sacrifice is up. But you can't really see it in first person here, so not a change I can show you in the shooting range, just some quality of life to help improve the readability on Sacrifice. Kasumi is getting a few buffs. She has been the worst flank in the game for a long time now, and she is getting overall survivability boosts. So her health has gone up by 100 from 2100 to 2200. Her yokai doll has tightened targeting range, so you have to be a bit more accurate with it. And it also now does a little bit more shield damage from 200% up to 250%, but you can no longer buy a Wrecker. And also, the cursed target damage output reduction has increased from 2 to 3% per stack. So if I apply max stacks to Ying here, she will now deal 15% less damage instead of 10% less damage. So a very sizable buff, especially when you consider the fact that curse stacks reduce Ying's damage done to everybody. So I can apply all these stacks to her, and then she's doing 15% less damage to the Fernando sitting behind me. So very sizable buffs for Kasumi. We'll see how it changes her state in the meta. Kinessa is getting a soft rework, and quite the sizable one at that, so let's quickly run down the changes. First of all, her primary weapon feels a lot different now, and a lot better. The Carbine fires slower and has much improved accuracy and range, so you'll see that we are generally doing a lot more damage here at this sort of medium range against Victor, Fernando, pretty much everyone. Still, yeah, definitely not like the best mid to long range tool, but up close and personal like this, I mean, it's doing a lot of damage, so a much more trusty sidearm now. And her scoped shots also handle a lot smoother now. So she has, first of all, much improved FOV. You're much less zoomed in, meaning you're going to get much less tunnel visioned. You can fight a lot better now in the medium to close range with the sniper scope activated. On top of that, it charges faster, but only does 1,000 damage. But look at that fire rate. So generally a faster cadence on this, and this actually feels really nice to play with in a real match. So we can just, yeah, keep on shooting here, and headshots do 1500 damage now. Overall, I think her weapon is feeling a lot more phenomenal now. And her ultimate also now has a sort of ult charge-based economy, similar to that of Androxus, where, depending on the amount of shots you fire out, you will preserve a certain portion of your ultimate. And it also lasts longer, too. So if I pop this, lasts a little bit longer, we fire a shot, that consumes some ult charge, fire carbine shots, they consume a little bit less, and then fire another shot, there we go, we killed him. And Headhunter is over, and I preserved 26% of my ultimate there. So, yeah, it will either end when the duration runs out, or if you happen to consume all of the ultimate charge from your weapon firing. So, yeah, honestly, just a buff to the uptime of Headhunter in general. And then, of course, her Oppressor Mines now also apply a slow, as indicated by this arrow on Victor. So, a bit of additional crowd control on Kinessa now. It's even more important to destroy those mines. And her base teleporter now, if I switch over to Steady Aim, it now travels faster. So it is a lot smoother now. You can play her other talents besides Reposition now and feel a little bit better on the movement front. Speaking of Reposition and her other talents, Reposition has gotten a nerf. Its range has been reduced to 75 units down from 100, and she also has a new talent. Oppression has been replaced with Octopressor. Very similar names. Octopressor used to be a card that would increase the amount of champions you can target with your Oppressor Mines, and that's been turned into a talent now. So you can target up to 5 enemies with Octopressor, and have up to 3 active at once, so it increases your maximum mine capacity. And, yeah, overall, just a bit of a cleaner playstyle, I think, than normal Oppression, so we can grab this here, and, yeah, now it's going to be targeting all 3 of them, so that's very lovely, and it's very strong now, too, considering that it does have that slow. You can apply a group AoE persistent slow. Now, let's get into the card changes. She has many card changes as well. Power Supply is gone. Yeah, one of the most popular cards for Kinessa, the card that gave her instant reset on her Transporter when she got to low HP with a very low internal cooldown. That has been completely reworked. Now, when you hit a headshot, it will provide up to 2% ultimate charge. So if you have the skill to hit headshots consistently, this can be a very good way to maintain your Headhunter. Calibrate has also gotten a nerf, so it has reduced scaling from 0.15 seconds to 0.12 seconds, and it also kind of got double nerf when you consider the fact that her fire rate is slower now, meaning it will be proccing less often in general. So pretty heavy handed nerfs to her Transporter uptime. She also has a new card, Aftershock, which replaces Octopressor and causes the Oppressor Mine's slow to linger for up to 2 seconds after exiting the mine's targeting. So this can be a very, very powerful card to use with Octopressor, as I'm sure you can already guess. And then finally, Beam Me Up has been reworked to reduce your damage taken while using Transporter, and Lie in Wait is kind of weird. If you want to zoom in more with your sniper mode, I don't know why you would, but if you want to zoom in more, now you can. Lie in Wait will increase your sniper zoom by up to 25%, and they did change it from the PTS. You no longer have to stand still for the buff. You can just have it ready to go, so at least that portion of this terrible card is gone. Thank goodness for that. Koga has gotten a slap on the wrist. The movement speed bonus that he gets while in claw stance has been reduced from 25% to 15%. That's it. That's the only nerf for the most powerful flank in the game, with a 64% win rate. Yeah. Maeve has gotten 3 very nice changes to each and every one of her talents. The most drastic of the changes being to Street Justice. So the old Street Justice, the annoying thorn in her side, has been replaced with a new ultimate talent. And this talent now causes it so that when you activate Midnight, you reset Pounce's cooldown. During Midnight, you can now execute targets at or below 40% health, and the duration of Midnight is increased by 2 seconds. So we can just pounce in here, and then we can ult, boom, gives us our pounce back, and then we can execute Ying. Just like that, nice and clean. And you can see the extra duration on Midnight as well. So the ability for you to execute targets is not dependent on whether the blind is affecting them. So if Fernando were to buy Unbound, right, Unbound 3, and basically cleanse the blind, I would still be able to execute him as long as the duration bar of Midnight is active. So do you see the duration bar on the middle of the screen? that bar determines whether you can execute or not. So as long as Maeve has the effect on her screen, that's what allows her to execute. And yeah, it means that she no longer has a free execute just on a regular cooldown. It is now tied to her ultimate just like every other execute in the game, and at most you can be executing 2 different targets, because you can basically pop ult and yeah, do this, and then you can 9 lives and do it again. And that's pretty much all the pounces you can get during this. So I guess in some ways stronger than Vora's execute, in other ways weaker than Lex's execute. It's kind of in the middle, and you do also have to pick a talent for it, which means it does come at the opportunity cost of Cat Burglar and Rogue's Gambit. It's probably not going to be a super strong talent out of the gate, but at least the old Street Justice is gone, so that's a very good thing. On top of that, Cat Burglar and Rogue's Gambit have both been buffed. So as you can see here, Cat Burglar basically just got its nerf that they gave to it at the very end of Season 6 reverted, which is a very good thing because it simply didn't need the nerf, especially with the item store rework and really strong armor plating right around the corner. So this is back up to doing 30% damage and having a 5-second window to hit your daggers, which is very good. So as you can see here, Prowl, and we're back up to 520 damage per dagger, so that extra little damage bonus will definitely help out with certain kill thresholds. It's back. It's great. I'm so happy that this change has finally been reverted, because it was a stupid nerf in the first place, and on top of that, as a Rogue's Gambit enthusiast, I'm also super excited for this. Rogue's Gambit now does more damage too. It's up to 20% damage with its pounce, up from 15%. So we can grab this, and we can grab a Rogue's Gambit build, and we can just boom, boom, and then pounce, and that does 480, and it still doesn't quite kill the Ying with 2 daggers and the pounce, but in general you will still have much more of an opportunity now to use the pounce for finishers, and then immediately get the pounce back and you can pounce away. So Rogue's Gambit is also feeling really, really good. In general, just a lot of good Maeve changes, even if Street Justice is a bit underwhelming now. Big MAKOA! Big MAKOA! Bigger MAKOA! He's bigger now! Not only have they made him big, but they've made him even bigger. It's crazy. They've buffed him even more since the PTS. I'm so excited. So, let me just go into third person here. And then, let me press my wonderful E, and Big MAKOA! Ah! Yes. And now, he also does 600 damage during his ultimate now, instead of 525. So he has gotten a massive, massive buff overall to his ultimate. So yeah, this increases his size by 50%. You wouldn't dare challenge him, very important to note. It now grants 50% headshot damage reduction during his ultimate. So headshots just aren't really effective during this ultimate. And also, it increases his bonus health up from 4,000 to 5,500. So as you can see, if I pop this ultimate again, with Leviathan here, I have 10,500 health. And yeah, we physically get larger in first person as well, and we do 600 damage, making him really feel like a juggernaut. And this was another change I suggested. I feel so heard and so listened to by the devs. It's great. So yeah, MAKOA is just feeling phenomenal now with his ultimate. And if you're a Leviathan player like me, oh boy, we're gonna start popping off this patch. Look at this, man. That just feels so good. Ancient Rage, it's like just pressing a button and summoning a miniature boss fight. Or not really a miniature boss fight, a grand, giant boss fight now. This is a crazy fun change. Jubilation now has Boom Boom. What does this mean? Well, if I apply magic marks with Jubilation, it now affects players in an AoE. So it works just like how Boom Boom did with old flank Moji. It's just now on the damage talent for support Moji. So there we go, get Ying properly in the middle there, and look at all that area damage go. So yeah, this talent I think definitely needed this buff. However, Moji is still, she hasn't been nerfed, and she is one of the strongest supports in the entire game. So I'm kind of surprised they didn't touch her other playstyles. Nyx got a really nice quality of life change. Royal Presence now is the duration bar. Look at that, that's so good. And what that means now is you now can gauge when it's going to end, and right before it ends, you can press the button to pull in somebody reliably now. So you'll probably see a lot more Nyxes pulling you in, and also you'll have a much easier time using Subjugation, and basically getting the most out of your root or your pull, and also getting the most out of the survivability from Royal Presence at the same time, which is, I think, a really great change. On top of that, Realm Breaker now at base kit can miss 2 hits before resetting combo chains. So if I just do this, 1, 2, and then... Oh, okay, hold on. So I need to 1, and then Yeah, okay, there we go. So, you can miss a little bit now with Rumbreaker, I guess. And yeah, her cards have also been changed. So, yeah, True Freedom has been reworked to heal for up to 375 when landing the final hit of Rumbreaker's combo. The damage increase, or the damage range increase, excuse me, from Devastating Blows has gone up from 4 to 5 units. And the new order has basically had its shield amount doubled. So this is the amount of shield you get for each enemy hit by Royal Presence's Chain Grab, which honestly seems interesting as a tool for survivability now. Maybe, possibly, potentially, I don't know. So overall, I mean, I guess it is a little bit surprising to see one of the strongest tanks in the game get buffed, but definitely this Royal Presence quality of life, this should have been there on release, and for that, the fact that it's finally added now, I am very grateful. Seris now has 2 new talents, replacing Mortal Reach and Agony. Mortal Reach was a very unhealthy playstyle, and Agony, well, just nobody used it. So the new healing talent is Forsake. This now causes Restore Soul to work very similarly to Furia's right-click, so she's kind of mirroring her sister. They're getting closer and closer with each update. And basically, what that means is, you now have a burst heal. Boom! All of the healing is applied over half a second, and then you have a 3-second cooldown. So what this allows you to do is basically fix Seris' weaknesses in late game, and also to an extent at high elo, where supports need to do more than just heal bots. It allows her to now quickly do a heal, and then for 3 seconds you have the opportunity to shoot, stun, do your normal Seris things, and then you can burst heal someone, back up again, basically do that, and then bam, 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 back up to shooting, stun, boom, and then I can heal again. And it allows her to play a much more active and engaging playstyle. And because you're still doing the same amount of healing, but in a shorter burst, and then you're able to do more damage, that also means generally more ult charge throughout the match. And also, during late game Cauterize now, if you only have half a second to heal somebody back up, you're going to do significantly more healing to them as long as you time your heal properly. So overall, this talent is going to give Seris a much more engaging playstyle as a main support, especially compared to the garbage that Mortal Reach was, with its ridiculously passive and uninspired playstyle. So this is a very intriguing talent. And then Internal Torment is sort of a hybrid damage support talent for Seris. Whenever you Ren Soul a target with maximum Soul Orb marks, basically whenever you stun somebody, they will take 20% increased damage for 3 seconds. So we can grab this, we can head over here, and you can see that if I go ahead and stun this Fernando, we now deal 242 damage per shot for 3 seconds. And this will apply to all my teammates who shoot Fernando as well. So if I go ahead and stun Fernando again... Oh, he died. Okay. Well, pretend he was still alive. If I were to stun him, my Drogo's player on my team sitting next to me shooting at the Fernando with Fusillade would deal 30% additional damage. It's basically as if Drogo's fire spat on an enemy, except with Seris, yeah, you can apply it just by stunning, you can apply it to a group of enemies like this, you generally have much more uptime on it, it's a lot easier to use than Drogo's fire spit, a very powerful damage amp that this champion now has access to. So you have some really interesting options for her talents now. I think she definitely has a more engaging talent lineup than she previously did last patch. Actually, some pretty solid talents this time around, so I'm happy to see that. Fellas, we did it. We did it. As president of Seven's fan club, Fellas, we did it. As president of Seven's fan club, I am proud to report to you today that Seven is not getting the just undeserved slew of nerfs that he was slated to receive on the PTS. He's just getting no changes this update. Oh, I need to update that build name. I haven't touched my 7 builds recently. But yeah, 7, he was slated to only have 1 charge of grapple at base kit. He was slated to get a cooldown nerf to the dodge roll. It was really bad. That's gone now. He's exactly the same as he was last patch, which, you know, he's still, like, he needs some buffs and other retunings, but at least he's not going to be dead, like I showcased in my video a week ago. So, super happy to see that. Again, as president of Seven's fan club, this is a great change, or rather, a great, what is it? A great... example of us fighting back against a ridiculously horrible change and the devs actually listening to us. So that is, yeah, great, and hopefully he'll get some better changes in the next update. Well, Strix isn't getting a soft rework like Kinessa, but he is getting one thing similar to Kinessa, and that is a increased FOV during his scope. So you can see a little bit more, you'll be less tunnel visioned, in general you'll have a much easier time during sort of mid-ranged combat being able to hit people more consistently. It's just a great change. It's just a great change. Terminus is also getting some changes, and he's actually getting a different lineup of changes than what was originally showcased during the PTS patch notes. So Undying is still getting nerfed, that's the one thing that remains the same. Undying now reduces the damage you take by 15% instead of 20%. However, they have also nerfed Abomination and It Watches. So, let me see, where's Abomination? There it is. So Abomination has reduced scaling from 2% down to 1.75% per tier, so a little bit less uptime on Power Siphon if you choose to play this playstyle. And It Watches has reduced scaling from 3% down to 2.5%. It Watches also a very powerful card for keeping your Power Siphon up. And yeah, so generally just less Power Siphon uptime. Originally what they were going to do was they were going to nerf his damage on his axe for some reason. What? That wasn't the thing that was strong about Terminus. What's strong about Terminus is his sheer levels of survivability. With Power Siphon being one of the best tools for blocking damage in the tank class, the uptime on it was crazy. And now, you're still going to maintain good uptime on it with these cards, especially if you can hit multiple people like that. But it's just going to be a little bit harder to keep it up now. So, yeah, I think that's a very sensible change for Terminus, much more sensible than, again, nerfing his axe damage. What on earth? Torvald is still keeping his damage nerf, though. From 200 down to 195, meaning he takes, against this Ying here, one additional shot to kill her. So, yeah, I mean, it's fair enough. Torvald is one of the strongest tanks in the game. Nerfing his damage output will hurt his capacity to be a bit more aggressive and help his team get those kills. So, I understand it. It makes sense. Yeah, moving on. Tiberius mains rejoice. Tiberius is getting some very good changes here. Predatory Instincts is finally a real talent. They've just put the original version, which increased the amount of bounces you get on your chakrams, into base kit, and they have replaced it with a talent that reduces the cooldown of combat trance by 25% per elimination that you get during combat trance. So if I just pop combat trance, and then kill this Ying, and then kill this Victor, boom, 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 we have 50% reduced cooldown. And yeah, so if you want to snowball and spam your combat trance a lot more, and also ultimate spam with honed senses, then this is the talent to do it with. On top of that, a lot of really good changes revolving his dash, or his jump, excuse me. I don't know why I always call it a dash. And specifically when you're using Vicious Assault is probably going to be his meta talent now, because Vicious Assault gains 40% damage resistance while you're airborne. And on top of that, his leap just, it goes faster. The wind-up is faster, so we can really just leap around and have that feel super duper good. And then finally, Blade Dance now has a little bit extra invulnerability on landing with Whirling Blades, which is the spin attack. Nothing crazy, it's just an additional 0.2 seconds of invulnerability, but you'll generally have a slightly improved chance of surviving once you land on the ground with that attack. Vatu is getting a buff and also a sort of retuning of his weapon. So Enveloping Shadows is the portion of his kit that's getting a buff. It now has a 2-second internal cooldown, down from 3 seconds. And the important thing is, it now synergizes with his kunai a lot better, because the kunai fires slower, from 0.9 seconds up to 1 second, but it also does more damage, 280 up to 310. So it should have the exact same damage per second, but it is burstier now, so you're actually going to pass the kill thresholds a lot more easily now. So we do this, boom, boom, and that's all just a lot cleaner now, but you'll notice we are firing a little bit slower. But the cadence should still be roughly the same, because you can dash, and then shoot, and then dash, and then shoot, and then dash, and then shoot, and it's basically every other kunai now, with Enveloping Shadows, that you will get this cooldown reduction. So if I just spam out some abilities here, pay attention to my ambush cooldown, every other kunai is when that cooldown reduction procs, and boom, we can get our ambush back just like that. So he should feel a little bit better to play. The slightly delayed rhythm of your weapon shots now will take a little bit of time getting used to if you are a Vatu maid, but I think the burst damage increase will definitely make up for it, and now Enveloping Shadows is also a lot more savory option if you were someone who enjoyed that playstyle back when it was meta for him. Vora is getting a just nice quality of life buff to her Harbinger's Wrath. There are a bunch of numbers and changes, but the long and short of it is, it's just easier to use now. So if I press E, first of all, the raw buff is just that we move faster, but also the camera is different, and the targeting is just a lot cleaner now. You also have a different icon showing when you are able to lock onto someone. That now basically just matches the icon that you see when you have a darkness stack. So it matches the center of screen UI, and it's a lot more visible and apparent on the enemies than the previous red marker. And yeah, in general, it's just a lot easier to actually latch onto it now. Vora's ult is famously one of the hardest ultimates to use if you're not ready for it and if you're not practiced with the champion, because it's just so unorthodox. A lot of newer players struggle with it. It's very often that you see a low-level Vora player just like, she presses Harbinger's Wrath, and then she's just like walking at you awkwardly. It's like, why can't I target you? But you can actually, wow, you can target like pretty much directly in front of you like this now. So yeah, just a lot easier to use. And another important thing, I know we're not at the bug fixes section yet, but this is a very important bug fix that's pretty much just a balance change. Let me switch into the right build here. New DR meta, Unified in Purpose. Unified in Purpose is a meta, just busted card for Vora. It's not getting a flat number nerf, but something that a lot of people weren't aware of, but some people were aware of, was the fact that this card had a bugged duration. For some reason, Unified in Purpose was lasting for 7 seconds instead of 3 seconds. And it applied on an ability that had, well, a 6-second cooldown. So you do the math, permanent 30% damage reduction. Yeah, that wasn't okay. So now it should be having the proper duration of just 3 seconds. And if it's still too strong, I imagine they will nerf it in the next update. But for now, it is now properly lasting for the 3 seconds that it's supposed to, meaning you're only having 50% uptime on this now, slightly more if you buy Chronos. And then finally, one of the strongest damage champions in the game ever since she got her new passive, Willo, is getting a nerf. So Blast Flower is going from 20% scaling down to 15% scaling, which is a sizable nerf. So on Fernando now, we are going to cap out at 800 damage per shot instead of 900 damage per shot. That's a big deal. She'll still probably be very strong because she can create her own high grounds. This passive is very good. Still has really good area damage with Blast Flower. But in general, yeah, a sizable nerf and deserved. She's also got like a 60% win rate, something like that. Like, she is winning a ton of games. So yeah, definitely saw this one coming. And finally, we get to the bug fixes, and these bug fixes are actually really good. We got some pretty solid bug fixes here. So Omen, his really just disgusting bug that allowed him to have pinpoint accuracy due to specific player behavior, has been fixed. Omen is now re-enabled across the game. You can play him in casuals, you can play him in ranked again, and you will no longer be able to abuse a bug that allows you to do way more damage than you otherwise should be doing. So already off to a fantastic start. And then, like I was just talking about with Vora, Unified in Purpose now has the proper duration instead of the 7-second bugged duration that it had. Then we have a few bug fixes for many of the Recolor skins that were added in the last update. And then a change that affects 0.01% of players, but really affects me, and I'm so happy to see it fixed. Check marks are back. Look! Look! It's back! I have a check mark again. Oh my gosh. They didn't remove my check mark. I'm not some toxic player who needed their check mark removed or anything like that. No, they were just bugged. No one had their check mark. The devs didn't even have their check mark. But check marks are back now. Do I have any friends online? Oh my gosh, I do. Cryptic and Mutu both have their check marks. Oh, Strixus has it too. Oh, and Feisty with a Russian name. All of them have their check marks. So, yeah. I've been accused of being the fake AndrewChicken more times than I would have liked. Ever since the check marks got removed. You can stop calling me the fake AndrewChicken now. It's always so funny when people do that too, because if you are a real AndrewChicken viewer, you would know that I don't have a check mark. At least when the check marks were bugged, right? I didn't have a check mark. You would see it in every single one of my videos for the past like 6 months. Some people, man, they're so silly. But yes, there's no doubt about it now. I am the real AndrewChicken. I have my check mark back again. I'm verified on X. No, I'm not. But yeah, that's a very nice bug fix. And then they also fixed an issue where disconnecting from games caused players to lose items or end up in a bad state. So this is a very good change for people who end up crashing, or people who have their internet go out and then they need to reconnect to the game, or any reason why you would disconnect from a game. You should not have as many issues getting back into the game now, which is absolutely phenomenal. And they still have a few bugs under investigation. So various skin recolors are missing lobby preview textures. Their presentation in matches is unaffected, though. And then on the wave defense map Dark Tides, players aren't prompted to select a loadout and spawn in on the same spot. So a workaround for this is to pause and select swap loadout to acquire talents and cards, or if you're on keyboard and mouse, you can press U, and that'll also swap your loadout. Basically on Dark Tides, yeah, you might sometimes need to manually select your loadout. It's not intended that you don't have a loadout in that mode. You are supposed to have a loadout. You might just need to actually go look for the ability to turn on your loadout first. And those are the bug fixes. So actually, like, some really good bug fixes here. Genuinely good bug fixes. There are only a few, but they're really good. So I'm super happy to see that. Overall, a lot of balance changes. We have a brand new PvE mode, which they are working on, making the best that it can possibly be. We have a bunch of recolors coming back. We have Split 2 of Ranked, some very awesome limited time mode updates. In general, a pretty solid update. So hopefully you found this video to be helpful. If you guys have enjoyed, of course, make sure to follow me on YouTube, follow me on Twitch, check out the Discord server, all that wonderful stuff. And also, if you want to buy some crystals for this Flashback event pass, or if you have the audacity to spend crystals on the recolor skins as well, I suppose you can do that if you want, then make sure to come over here to my Nexus and buy the crystals here. You can basically buy these crystals and support me in the process. A portion of the proceeds go to supporting the channel. How much do you give me for 1,500 crystals? Let me see. Click on it. I will receive $2 if you buy 1,500 crystals here. So yeah, it's a small portion, but it adds up if enough people do it. So I'd really appreciate it if you would check this out. It is officially affiliated with Evil Mojo, so it's not some shady website. I know there are shady websites out there. This is not one of them. They'll vouch for it. Go ask Cryptic. They'll probably be in my stream later. So yeah, really appreciate it if you check that out. Also, you can support the channel in other ways if you want to buy a membership on the YouTube channel or sub on the Twitch channel, anything like that. But with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. I will see you all next time. Peace out.